our official, our guest speaker on the phone, because I didn't realize we potentially almost lost him with the story he's going to tell. But we're excited to have a true leader on the call. This coach joined us 5 years ago about. He's a 9-star diamond coach. He's been an elite coach 3 times. In 2013, he was one of our elite top 10. He's in the Millionaires Club. He is a Success Club legend, having qualified, Success Club 10 legend, having qualified for Success Club 10 for 55 months. Truly a great leader, a great coach, a great family man. Him and his wife Gabby have 5 wonderful kids, and he does all of this from beautiful Idaho Falls. Please welcome to the call none other than Scottie Hobbs. Scottie, you there?
Hey, I'm here, Michael. Hey, thanks for that warm welcome. I just have to say that I feel extremely blessed and grateful and humbled and honored to be here. I love these calls. I love listening to my favorite part as well is listening to the rank advancements. So also shout out to Raina.
That's always
helping me believe it's possible for me too. Right?
Yeah, that's
15-star diamond.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of, coach success and coaches working their way up through the ranks, let's go back a little bit, 5 years ago, Scottie. What was your life like before you became a Beachbody coach, and what kind of got you there? What made you become a Beachbody coach?
Okay, excellent. This is my favorite part of my story because it's the part that I tell every single day to people as they ask me why I'm a Team Beachbody coach and what I do. So back 4.5 years ago, I had gone through a P90X transformation, and I was introduced to it by a neighbor, and he was not a part of Team Beachbody. He was just extremely fit, and I was not. And, I was tired and somewhat lazy at this point, and I had 2 kids at the time, and I remember just asking him, how do I get healthy and strong like that? You look fit, you have energy. I don't have any of those things. So he told me, he trained the football players at this high school, and he did what every coach should actually do and said, I can help you get fit. And he invited me to come work out with him at the gym. And unfortunately, at that time, I worked every day from 5 o'clock in the morning till 5 at night. And he trained the football players at 6. So I couldn't go to the gym with him. So he said, you should try that P90X thing. So I tried it. And I went from 187 pounds to 145 in just 90 days. When I had abs for the first time, I began to feel this sense of confidence. People were like, wow, that's amazing what he's done. What are you doing? And they're asking me. And I began to fall in love with helping people, telling people what I was doing. And it felt really good to be able to do that. So, and remember, I was not a coach at this point, but I fell in love with P90X and telling people about P90X. And at this time, like I said, I was going to work every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would get home at 5, and my wife worked every night from 3 to 11. So this meant she would take the 2 kids to the babysitter at 3, go to work. I would pick them up from the babysitter at 5, and then, I'd do the dad thing, feed them dinner, play with them, bathe them, do scriptures and prayers with them, put them to bed. And that was our life for the last 3 years. We had lived those opposite schedules. So what really motivated me to become a coach was that point of, there's got to be something out there different. I always sat at my job where I worked 12 hours a day, and I used to just try to think of a way out or a way to move up in the company and to make things better so my wife wouldn't have to work anymore. And, I talked to my coach, Lindsay, that way. She said, you have great results. You'd make a great coach. But I just told her, hey, I'm not going to do that thing. I'm helping people anyway. But she really got to know who I was. We talked on the phone. She knew that my wife worked. She knew that I didn't have $40 to sign up as a coach. And a lot of people don't know this, but she invited me to be a coach during some promotion where there was a waive the coach sign-up fee for a month. And I still didn't do it at that time. But, the underlying reason why I didn't do that, even though I just said, I don't have time, I had all these excuses. I don't have time. I'm too busy. My wife works at night. But really, it was just fear, and I never told her that. But I was afraid because at home I didn't have internet. I still had a Nokia flip phone, but I had no smartphone. I had what seemed to be no money to get signed up, and so it was 8 months that I was doing P90X and working hard and helping people, but I never became a coach during that time, Michael, for those 8 months. because I was afraid. I was afraid that I would fail as a coach. I was afraid that I would get rejected. You know, I'm a college dropout. I served the mission for my church, and then I came back and got in the wrong crowd and became a drug addict. So, you know, and luckily I got out. That was what helped from some friends. But I was afraid of failing at something again. And the fact that I was afraid I didn't have enough time to put the effort that I needed to into Team Beachbody to be successful. So that kind of is like leads up to what I want to talk to you guys about today. Is I had all these fears, and I'll tell everyone on this call today is I still have the same fears I had in the beginning. Like the fears are still present, but what I've learned is that, you know, you don't really always overcome fears. You have the courage to face them. You have the courage to face them. And my goal today is to share with you guys a story, and then kind of relate to you 3 ideas and 3 things that you can do to be able to have courage to face your fears so you can achieve the goals that you want with this business. So here's the ideas I want to share with you as I get started. So I want to talk to you guys. It was the first week of September. I live in Idaho, so we hunt here in Idaho, and a lot of us do. And I was archery hunting. So those of you who don't know what archery hunting is, it's hunting with a bow and arrow. So I'm in full camouflage. I'm out by myself. I have some bear spray on my left hip, and I have a .44 revolver on my right hip, and then I have my bow and arrow. So I'm out and I'm hunting elk, and there's a call you can do to track elk in. So I'm doing that, and I have to tell you guys first of all, my biggest fear in life, not to do with Beachbody, but fear in life is getting mauled by a grizzly bear. Some people have fear of sharks, some people have fear of heights. Mine is getting eaten alive by a grizzly bear. So luckily, I do have bear spray, and I do have a revolver for protection. So I'm sitting there alone, and before you know it, 100 yards from me comes through the trees down the trail that I'm watching a grizzly bear. And it's about 700 pounds is my guess. And it's walking towards me, and I'm sitting down camouflage. So I'm not sure if it sees me or not, but it's coming right towards me. And it gets to 60 yards, 50 yards, and I'm starting to tremble a little bit. I pull out my bear spray. There's a little safety on. I take it off. I pull out my revolver. I cock it back, and I'm just sitting there, tucked down, hoping that it turns and leaves, but it keeps moving towards me, and it puts its head up, and it's massive. And I told my dad later when I got home, I was like, it had to be like 700 or 800 pounds, and he's like, that's pretty big. And then I'm like, well, maybe I was sitting down, maybe it looked big because it's my biggest fear, but it's coming at me, and it gets to 30 yards, and I've done a little preparation. I know that you don't use like bear spray. It's like a 98% chance of survival. Of revolver, 40% chance of survival if you use a gun. So I have my bear spray ready, but I do know that you're not supposed to use it until it's 20 feet from you and charging. So I have to make this decision. It's like 30 yards. Do I try to startle it and scare it away now, or do I let it get to 20 feet and feel threatened and charge me and attack me? So I make the decision at that moment to just yell as loud. I stand up and I yell as loud as I can, and it kind of startles, and it runs up the angle away from me about 30, 40 yards, turns back and looks at me, and then continues walking away. And I snapped a picture of it to go home and show my dad. And then I start shaking. My legs are shaking. I can hardly stand. I can't talk, and I go in the exact opposite direction of the bear. The bear went in the direction that my truck was. It was like a quarter mile away, went straight towards my truck. So I'm like, oh, great. I'm not going to walk that way. So I walk in the opposite direction, like 2 miles to the highway. I put my thumb up and I hitchhike back to my truck because I'm afraid to go back through those trees alone with a big grizzly bear in there. So especially after I started, I didn't know if I made it mad. I didn't know what to expect. I had uncertainty, I guess, to say. So I go home, I tell the story, and I still have the desire to go out hunting. So this is what I do. I go to the store, and I tell my dad and my friend Garrett, I'm like, hey, let's go hunting. I want you guys to come with me. We'll feel safer, be a better for us that way. But I also give my dad my 44, and I go get a bigger gun to have on my hip just to be sure. Because I have 5 kids at home, remember this. So I don't need to be dying. So I go buy a 500 Smith & Wesson, like a 50 caliber handgun, biggest handgun in the world, because I want it in case I have to use it to protect my life. So I go out, and we're sitting there in the same area with my dad, my friend Garrett, and myself. And we're all about 100 yards apart. It's like a football field apart from each other in some trees, some thick trees, so we can't see each other. We're sitting there, and it's quiet. My bow's sitting on the ground. I remember my phone was sitting on the ground, and I'm just sitting there quietly. We're doing our calls. And out of nowhere, I hear my friend just start yelling, get out of here, bear. So the next thing I know, I don't even remember standing up. I don't remember taking the bear spray out of my holster or my gun. Next thing I know, I'm hurdling logs and trees, running full speed through the forest at this grizzly bear. And I'm yelling. I'm like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he at? And so I'm running at him, and my dad and I kind of come to the same place where my friend is as the bears, turns and runs. And I know that my friend did not have bear spray, and he had a very small revolver, which would not protect him. So I'm sure he's going to get some better protection now. But so we run there, and we get there, the bear takes off. So no one's injured. Now he's shaking like no other and can hardly talk to us, pale and white in the face. But my question right here that I want to lead into, and I want to ask for you guys to each think about is, why is it that one day I was extremely frightened and I went in the complete opposite direction, got in a vehicle and got a ride, and the next day I'm running straight into the face of danger. I'm running straight towards a 700-pound grizzly bear, same as my dad. So what is the difference? Why is one day I go in the opposite direction with fear, and the next day I'm running straight towards it? And this is what I want you guys to write down. There's 3 things that I want to teach you that helped me be able to, because still today I'm frightened of grizzly bears. I'm going out Wednesday again with my dad most likely, but I'm still frightened. I still have that fear. But what gave me the courage and my dad the courage to run straight towards that grizzly bear? And here's the 3 things I want you guys to write down, and then we'll write them down compared to Team Beachbody. Number 1, I had a team. The first day I was alone. The second day I had my friend and I had my dad. Number 2, I was prepared. I had bear spray. I had gone home and studied what to do if a bear came, in your proximity. And I had even bigger tools. Even though I already had a .44 revolver, I went and got a better one. So I got a better tools. Number 3, I had a reason. So the first time I was by myself, I wouldn't just run at a grizzly bear for no reason. But the second time I had a reason. A friend, it could have been my dad, it could have been anybody who was in danger. So we had to protect. So we had to run at the danger to help protect. So we had a reason. So here's how we can relate that to Team Beachbody. So make sure you write that down. You have a team, you're prepared and have the tools, and number 3, you have a reason. So to relate it to Team Beachbody, like I said, the fear is still there in this aspect. So for me, Team Beachbody, the fear is still there. Like there's still slight fears of, could I fail, or could I have some sort of objection, or, all these fears are still there. But with these 3 things, I've been able to have the courage to face them every single day. I was even slightly scared even to do this call, even though it's been 4.5 years. But because I have those 3 things, I have the courage to stand up and do it. So I call it facing your grizzly. So I have the courage to face my fears. So I want you guys to identify in your life as a Team Beachbody coach, what are your fears? And here's the 3 things I want to teach you, those 3 concepts I just taught you, but teach you how you can use them in Team Beachbody to overcome your fears in Team Beachbody, whether it's fear of objection or fear of, are people going to discourage you from going after your dreams? Or are you going to get no's? Are people going to make fun of you? All of these fears. So number 1, you have a team. So even if you don't have the team that you wish you had, you can begin to create that today. Decide that you want to create that culture in that team. You can team up with a cross-line coach, an up-line coach, a sideline coach. You have a team. You can get a success partner. For example, my success partner is not a part of our team, not a part of my upline team. It's Barbie from another team. So I have a success partner. So you can find a success partner. You have your upline coaches, your cross-line coaches. You have team pages. I know even corporate has like the Western region page, or for Idaho, there's an East Idaho page. I know there's a Utah page. So there's team pages that you can be a part of, so you can feel that sense of closeness of a team, that you have people there to protect and help you. So, and I want you guys all to remember that we're all part of, we're not just Beachbody coaches, we're Team Beachbody coaches. So we're all a part of the same team in that aspect. So number 1, take advantage of that team that's around you and begin to create that, or find people to get by your side. Number 2, the tools and how you can be prepared as a coach. My favorite quote, one of my favorite quotes of all time is, it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So instead of looking every day as you get prepared and gather the tools to face your fears as a Team Beachbody coach, instead of looking at it as like, will I get a challenge back today? Will I find a challenger? Will I fill my coach, my coach sneak peek or my challenge group, or can I recruit a coach this today? Look at it as, can I grow myself? Can I build a skill set? Can I use these tools that are available and prepare myself for when an opportunity comes to talk to somebody, and to have the faith and the courage to talk to somebody about how Beachbody can help change their life. So I like to look at it like when you start a new career, or Let's look at a bigger picture. Like if you're going to get your bachelor's degree, you have all this anxiety and fear, but you begin to show up to class and you begin to learn and you look at the schedule and you know, if you don't understand something, you ask a classmate or you get a study partner or you ask the teacher. So begin to apply that in your business and in your journey as a team Beachbody coach. You know, related to something bigger like that, but it's going to take time, but every day you get to prepare, learn, study, and grow as a person. And the tools that I use and the way that I prepare myself daily is personal development. It's also team calls. Like I even still listen to my upline coaches' team calls. We have our own team calls. We have this national wake up call. So if you're on this call, I shout out to you for being on this call, but also let your coaches know that this is an opportunity for them to grow and to learn and to be prepared. There's also Super Saturdays, there's Summit, there's Coach Breaking News, there's Coach Basics groups. Did I say personal development? Right? Personal development. I want you guys to understand, for me, I have so many fears and insecurities because of all my past failures, struggle with self-esteem, that I had to do so much personal development. Those 12 hours that I was working 5 to 5, I listened to books 12 hours a day. I listened to Think and Grow Rich, Millionaire Next Door, and The Compound Effect probably 60 times each in my first year, because that's all I did at work when I was working, was listen to that personal development in my earplugs. So even today, 4.5 years later, I'm doing 6 hours of personal development a day. And that's preparing myself so that when I have a conversation with somebody, I have something to say, I have value to add to them, I know how to ask the right questions to help them achieve their goals in their life. So that is the number 2, the tools that you have available. And Tony Robbins, one of my greatest mentors, always says, you have all the resources in the world. If you're not successful, it's because you have a lack of resourcefulness. So I want to challenge you today on that second tip, is to use the resources that you have available to you and then begin to create them, use them and create them and teach them to other people. And the third, and what I believe is the most important, is your reason or your why. With the Grizzly Bear story was protecting somebody. Now with your reason or your why, I want to talk to you about mine. Yours you need to discover on your own. And I always say your why's got to be strong enough to make you cry, or it's got to be strong enough to make you so happy that it brings you to tears and to joy. So I want you to think about it as you leave this call as well today. But mine, I want to talk to you guys about April 11th, 2011. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember walking up the stairs, and yes, my head was hung low, sad, because I was not fulfilled at my job, and it wasn't the most happy place to be, but it took care of my family for the most part. But I remember walking up the stairs, and I had my lunchbox in one hand, and I had my mail in the other hand. I always picked up my mail before I showed up to work early. I would sort my mail, and then I would get to work and do my job there for 12 hours. So I remember that day it was 18 days after the birth of my third daughter, Ellie. So it's my third daughter. And I remember getting the bills. It was the doctor bill. It was a hospital bill, anesthesiologist bill. There was even one for like an ear doctor that checked her ears at the doctor. And all these bills were there. And I remember looking at the numbers on those bills that we had with the little check stub to turn in. And I began to spin. I was overwhelmed, because at this moment, I want you guys to understand truly how it was for me, because this was a turning point in my life. My mortgage payment was $1,548, and my biweekly pay was $910. So that comes to $1,820 after taxes, insurance, and 401k, and my mortgage is $1,548. So I had $300 to pay the light, electricity, food, gas to get to work. And now I have all these bills, and I began to spin for real. I was like so scared about how I was going to be able to take care of my family. But in that moment, I remember that my fear of not knowing how to take care of my family became greater than my fear of failing as a coach. And I decided that I was going to act with courage and face that fear. And that day I signed up as a coach on April 11th of 2011. And it was truly because I needed a way to take care of my family. I knew deep inside that I was not supposed to be taking every overtime shift that I possibly could, including weekends and even side jobs, and not seeing my family together. I never saw my wife except for a few hours on the weekend, and our kids never saw us together. And I knew that was not the way I was supposed to be living life. So I took that day and I decided I was going to change that no matter what. I was going to face every fear that I ever had. And I remember I got on the phone from my neighbor's house because I didn't have internet or a smartphone, and I had a getting started right call with my coach, Lindsay. And she told me, I told her I need to bring my wife home. That's why I'm doing this. And I need to make $10,000 with Team Beachbody so that she can come home from work. And she said, I can't promise you $10,000, but I promise that your income will be a direct reflection of the number of lives that you change. So that was my why. That was my why, and the reason that I was willing to get out of my comfort zone and face those fears to be able to bring my wife home. And as I think about it, Michael, it's been 4.5 years in our life because I had the courage to face those fears and to use those tools and to stay connected to a team, that we've been able to completely transform our lives and the lives of our children and thousands of other people. And as I think about it, it's overwhelming sense of gratitude for Team Beachbody and for every single person that God's brought into our lives, because I had the faith and courage to face the things in life that I was afraid of. So I think it's, some of the things you can't measure. I believe you can't measure that have to do with success. Like, I am more confident in myself. I struggled with self-esteem my whole life. I'm confident in myself. My relationships with my family are better. My relationships with my kids are better, with my parents are better. Over the past, after, I was striving so hard to build this business, to bring my wife home. And I realized at that time that I could also bring myself home. And we've been stay-at-home parents now for 3.5 years without working for anybody. And when I think about that, and I want to find the best way to deliver this message, but I feel honestly, and this is why I'm so passionate about sharing my message and my story, and trying and working hard to get other people to face their fears and have courage, is because I feel that in these 3.5 years that I've been home as a stay-at-home dad, that I've gotten as much time with my 5 kids as most parents get in 18 years of life with their kids at home, that I've gotten that much time with them in those 3.5 years. And I don't think you could put a price on that. And then,
wow.
Yeah, and I think about that, and that's why I still work so hard. Like, I feel my life purpose is to help other parents, go after, face their fears in life, to learn to tell their story, to connect with other people, and to be able to spend more time with the ones they love rather than spending all their time at work trying to pay the bills. Like, yes, I'm not going to convince everybody to leave their job, but they can create something where they don't have to take all the extra overtime hours, or they don't have to send their spouse to work. And beyond that, we've been able to, my mom was miserable at her job. 2.5 years ago, I got to retire her from the school district, and she worked in the resource room, and now she's been a full-time assistant for me. She works from wherever she wants, whenever she wants, working for me as an assistant. And then just over a week ago, my dad, he's been working for 30 years as a copying machine repairman, first typewriters. He had his knees replaced recently because he's always on the floor fixing these machines. And I get to go enjoy life with my kids and do whatever we want with our time now. And if I could think of somebody that I would want to do that with, it's my mom and dad. So our next biggest goal was to retire him from work. So not last Friday, the Friday before, he was able to retire from his job 8 years early. From he's 59 years old, and now he's retired. We're able to replace his income and let him do what he wants with his life, of helping us with the kids and taking care of them when we go to leadership and summit and all these events. But the coolest thing was when we offered that to him, he was in shock and in tears. It didn't seem real. It still feels like a dream to him today. He told me, I promised God that one day I would serve a mission. And I didn't get to do that when I was young like you. But your mom and I have promised that we'd do that one day, and we get to do that 10 years earlier now. We get to, in a couple of years, we're going to go do that. And then the coolest thing, he was like, you know what? I'm going to start reading them personal development books you read, and I'm going to learn from you how to build a blog. And I need to share my story as well, because my cholesterol and my blood pressure is all where it's supposed to be because of Shakeology and staying active. So I am going to build a business just like you've built, and I'm going to learn from the best. So it was the coolest thing, full turnaround for my dad and, my mom, where you always try to make them proud of you, to where my dad and my mom, they want to make me proud as well and share their story with Team Beachbody and how it's changed their life as well. And, just to kind of end it out, Michael, and I think about, we took our diamond coaches to the Dominican Republic last week, and we just got back yesterday, and a full moment, where everything comes back around to you. Half of our coaches had flown home, and the other half were sitting in the circle talking about the retreat by the pool. And I walked out to give hugs and say goodbye, and Brigitte Linford was there, and she had no idea what I was talking about on this National Wake Up Call, but she said, she had tears in her eyes, and it made me cry. And luckily I was kind of hidden by my sunglasses, but she said, I just want to thank you for having the courage to stand alone before any of us and do this thing, Team Beachbody. Although people were telling you you're crazy, or, that's not what, you're supposed to have a job, and you went against that grain. And because you had the courage to do that, I had the courage to do that. And everybody here had the courage to do that. And our life has completely and drastically changed. And that's kind of where I can tie it back to this year's motto of everyone matters, is the actions that you take as you use these three things of gathering your team, being prepared, using the tools, and having your own reason and your why. As you do that and you face the fears and take massive action in your business, as you do that, it's going to give other people around you the courage to go after their dreams. And that's how you're going to build an incredible team and a legacy that you can be proud of.
Wow, Scottie, that was really a great. I'm so glad you shared that with us. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm sitting here on the edge of my seat listening to your story. As a city boy, I've probably the closest experience I've ever had with that is like coming up in the elevator with Carl Deichler in the morning before he's had a Shakeology. But I try, and I've learned I'm prepared. I keep a little packet of vegan chocolate to sprinkle on his tongue in case it gets bad. But the point is that one, you could have walked away the first time and never gone back into the woods. And I think that, those fears, those things that all of us face every day, that every day we face something that we're fearful of and kind of want to go the other direction. And the fact is that by facing those things, by being prepared, by knowing how to tackle these things, that wonderful things happen as a result of that. And I know for you, not just the bear experience, but your whole experience as a Team Beachbody coach, because you're able to face those fears, you've inspired so many people, so many customers, so many coaches, and most importantly, the people closest to you, your family. It's so exciting to hear that, your dad has that, that change of heart. Seeing what you're doing has inspired him. So anyway, thank you, Scottie. This was a fantastic call, and we appreciate everything that